And as you now begin to understand where you are and what is happening around you, I want you to tell me the very first impression that you have, or the very first thing that you see.
So what I see is I think I'm in a kind of a dimension, and it presents itself as a labyrinth with many rooms and many corridors with spaces. So it looks kind of like the background is dark and this labyrinth that I see is gray. And it's also not fixed in a position. It's like it's floating. It's like it's suspended in a space.
What perspective do you have? Are you floating on top of this labyrinth, or are you in?
So I see it sort of from above. Yeah, I see it kind of from bird's eye, but it keeps sort of changing. Okay, I can go in now.
Okay, so just allow yourself to move closer and closer. And when you are there, you can start to describe for us what do you see?
So at the center, what I now see is like there are many snakes. I'm not sure they're real, but they look like snakes. And they're sort of in each other, like this. And they form a sort of shape like this. And it's like the center of this kind of labyrinth. It's formed by these snakes. That's what I see.
So you mean that the snakes make something like a circle, like a ring?
Yeah, but it's not really circular. It's more like diamond shaped.
Are they floating in the air, or are they on the floor, on the ground?
It's not really like it, because it's not physical. I don't get a sense that it's physical. So it's like it's just it's an illustration. It's a representation of something. So the background is dark, and they are sort of here in that shape. So they're not really on the floor. They're more like floating. You could say they're suspended. Yeah, that is what I see.
What color are the snakes?
They're gray, which already is, to my knowledge, it's not like, I don't think there are gray snakes. Maybe there are, but I don't think that they're trying to represent real snakes. I think it's a representation of a snake. That's what I see.
And is this outdoor now or indoor? How do you feel?
It's just suspended in space.
Okay. I want you to have a look at yourself, and I would like you to tell me if you feel like you have any kind of physical body.
So before you said look at yourself, I was just an observer. I was just the observer from a multi-dimensional perspective. I could see the many sides, the many different dimensional aspects of it. And the moment you said, now get a sense of yourself, so I'm feeling very hot. And I feel that there is now my awareness, my consciousness is going into something, into a being.
Okay.
And I actually feel that it is an off-planet being, or if you want to call it an alien being.
What makes you say that?
Because when I align with this being, it says, I am not from Earth. I am not originally from your planet.
Okay.
I exist in many forms. I can take on many forms. I am a consciousness. But this consciousness was birthed deep within the womb, the cosmic womb. It was a prototype, feminine being, an aspect of feminine consciousness. And it originates from a very deep dimension within the womb of creation, the cosmic womb. And therefore, from your perspective, this would be deemed very, very ancient, way older, and also from your future, because this aspect of female consciousness, feminine consciousness, has many representations, and it collides at different intervals with your collective reality. And therefore it has been in what you perceive a past, and it will also be encountered in a future. I am a composite of many female archetypes known to mankind, to your kind. I am a composite of what you would call wise woman, a crone, a shapeshifter, a dragon, a witch, a warrior queen, a wizard. So, at any given time, correlating to the different streams of consciousness throughout your universe, I can take shape in a composite of this amalgamation of feminine traits mixed with beings that exist on planets and galaxies other than your own.
I would like for you to talk to us about your incarnation as the being called Medusa in ancient Greece. What was the purpose of that avatar, of that incarnation?
It was summoned by that particular consciousness in that particular composite, was summoned by the beings that your mythology describes as gods, which was an amalgamation on its own of humanoid and non-humanoid beings. And so it is within the summoning of that reality construct, I had a place. I fitted a particular story. And so, in fact, I emerged from the sea. So there was an aspect of me that could be described as a mer being, a mermaid or a merman. So mer as for mar, which means sea. And so there was an aspect of me. In fact, I was birthed from the sea, from the oceans on your planet. Many of the beings, the mythological and the interdimensional beings from your oceans are feminine in nature, because it vibes, the overall frequency of your oceans is coherent and conducive to the feminine species, the feminine vibration. And so in that particular time, I was cast as a warrior woman with wizardry powers. I was there to serve a narrative. It was a mirror of a toxic kind of masculinity, but one that can be found in both genders, because you are, of course, well aware that every human being is comprised of both masculine and feminine component. And so it was a summoning to be a challenge to a toxic masculinity. The warrior tribe, the warring, the killing, the conquering tribe.
I have many questions on that purpose that you had, but before that I would like to ask you some questions regarding your physical appearance. They say that they depict you with gold wings and with snake hair. So why these symbols? Are they true? And if so, why were you presenting yourself in this way?
So as for the golden wings, they were actually not fully physicalized, but they are part of my dragon aspect. Dragons have wings, remember? Yeah. And so part of my power and part of my genetic makeup is part dragon. And so these wings were not, first of all, not always on display. They could go in and out of physicality. And perhaps that is why they were depicted as in gold, because gold is the filament of alchemy, you understand? It is the interface of the seen into the unseen. But yes, I could summon my wings. It was part of my composite makeup. And so for the hair, you know, I wasn't fully human. In fact, I was only partly human. So as for my let's say mer being aspect, the hair is flowing. And when my rage was evoked, when my anger would come to the surface, the waves of the hair could shapeshift into the snake form. And of course, the snakes were also, they are a positive and a negative polarity. That's why they are like this. The one is never without the other.
Intertwined, you mean?
Intertwined, thank you. Yes, because the snakes, they are a projection of something that your mankind fears, and it is very fearsome and very powerful. But the snake is also a symbol of fertility and a symbol of wizardry, power.
And wisdom, right?
And wisdom. and Kundalini energy. Transcendence. Again, it is a kind of a symbol of an aspect that collides at the intersection of seen and unseen.
So it was not, they were not physical.
They were physical, yes, when they fitted the narrative of the story that I was in. But they were not a part of my permanent features, yes. I'm a shapeshifter.
So it has nothing to do with what they say in mythology, Greek mythology, that you were cursed. That's why your hair turned into snakes.
Perhaps it should be looked upon as a metaphor. So a curse is an action that is derived from negative intention. So my summoning, the summoning of my being, the summoning of my aspect of the feminine, the divine feminine, the cosmic feminine, the eternal feminine, the summoning of the Medusa being happened from a place of reckoning, from a place of contrast, from a place almost of paganry, pagan wisdom, but its intention. So the intention with which it was physicalized was negative. That's why they call it a curse.
Makes sense. Could you talk to us a little bit about this myth? They were saying that whoever would look at you, men I think especially, they would turn to stone. If they would dare to look at you in the eyes, they would turn into stone. That was the myth.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
So of course, in reference to what I said before, I was summoned as a being, as a consciousness, to mirror a toxic masculinity. And so there are many levels to these myths. And let's say on the most base level, on the most basic level, the root chakra level, if you want to look at it that way, it is the same old story of duality. It is the story of contrast. It is the playing off the masculine against the feminine. And the masculine wanted to exert their hegemony, their power, their kingdoms, they wanted women to be submissive. Yeah. But they were also lustful after women, because they also wanted to be intimate with all the representations of the divine feminine, and also on the level of your humanity. And so it was to show the man that they needed to control their toxic masculine ideas and their toxic masculine energy, that it wasn't about submitting the feminine, the female, and to perpetuate this story of war, that consciousness of war and conquer.
So would you say that era was more patriarchic oriented?
Yes, like most of your last 20,000 years, we would say. Predominantly patriarchal. Your patriarchal hegemony has lasted way longer than the 2,000 years that is being talked of in your stories, in your collective consciousness. Of course, there have been isolated communities that were maternal, that were led by matronas, by the feminine, but they were always warring the masculine.
So would you say then that your presence at that time was like a representation of the divine feminine?
Yes, in a way, and man's fear, the masculine fear of the multidimensional powers of the feminine. Yes. Yes. They wanted to use these women like they've used oracles, like they've used witches to serve their courses. And when these women wouldn't comply, or whether their services would not render a positive outcome for the males who had sought out their help, they would simply kill them off. And that is not the way. You know, you cannot exert your power over another species. It just isn't meant to be that way. So it really was to teach the masculine a lesson, and that there is such a thing as there is an understanding where women can be completely self-sufficient. They stand on their own, and this is very threatening to men. And so that power needs to be tamed, that power needs to be boxed in, it needs to be controlled, because women are so powerful and they walk between the dimensions. And it was also as a reckoning, because a lot of the women, also what you deem the goddesses and the female protagonists within your mythology, within the Medusa mythology, these women usually had to endure so much suffering. They were raped, and they were beaten, and they were tortured, and they were exiled, and terrible. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, certainly. Do you feel that your mission was successful?
That is an interesting question that cannot be answered in a simple yes or no. I was summoned to serve a purpose, and within the timing of the narrative that my presence was summoned, I can say that I served my purpose. But on a wider perspective, on your humanity's planetary journey, on humanity's collective journey, I would say there is still a long way to go. There always need to be reminders of the bringing into balance of these so-called gender roles.
Yeah, and we are going through this shift, let's say, right now, right, from male to female energy.
Well, the idea is that it is a
balance.
That it is a balance. Yes.
Certainly.
The feminine are never here to exert their power over civilization, especially not at this point in the shift, in the journey. It has to be a coming together and then rise together. Yeah. And then there also will be no need for these composites like me, not in your reality.
So far, from what I have read, the Earth was going through these cycles, these long Kali Yuga cycles of 26,000 of years of either male or female as a dominant energy. And many say that we are now entering the age of Aquarius, where the feminine, the divine feminine is rising again. From your perspective, do you see this next cycle as being dominated by the divine feminine, or do you think there's going to be this balance between the two?
Yes, because the masculine is reclaiming and rekindling their feminine side. So there's not going to be a domination of sorts. I also wanted to say that another way of looking at the Medusa, of what I represent, is like a Kali figure. I have very much a Kali energy, the Kali from the Vedic mythology, from the Hindu mythology. And so she was also a great destructor.
What's your connection to her? Is there any connection?
Yes, in a sense that we are all representations. We are all branches of the mother tree that is the divine feminine within the entire universal cosmology. But that is what came now, that I have a very strong Kali vibration, as she was a very powerful goddess within the Vedic pantheon, and she is just another form, and it was representative of the collective consciousness in the time that this was embraced and summoned upon, and the region where it took place. They are both aspects of the cosmic feminine in all of her multidimensional existence, with all the alchemy, with all the powers of wizardry. And it's very much depending on the time and the physical place where it's being birthed, where it's called into life, whether these species, whether these specimens of the feminine yield a positive or a negative power. And it's always within that eternal dance, because these flames, these two flames also intertwine. They also dance together. And that is what the Kali and the Medusa have in common. The cosmic dance. And you can see it in the attributes of alchemy, whether it is the snakes, which is a symbol of transformation, or whether it is in the flames, which is another symbol of death and rebirth, which is transformation. And this is eternal. They take different forms and different shapes depending on what is called for, what is needed, what balance needs to be redressed.
Exactly, that's what I wanted to say.
Yes.
Ask you that you were a manifestation, like a divine manifestation of what our world needed at that time.
Yes, correct. I played a part. I served a purpose. And when there was no longer need for that energy, for that message, for that energetic alchemy, I simply returned to my original existence.
Mm-hmm. Could you talk about the meaning of your name? Because Medusa in Greek comes from, it means guardian and protector.
Yes, it has to do with the mirror, with the water being. It is a protector. It is a guardian of the predominantly feminine interdimensional species, the fairies, that kind of beings,
The elementals.
like elementals, other beings too, spirit beings. But she is also a guardian of justice as she seeks balance. It was about coming back to center. So there is a part why the image was conjured, was being shown to this channel about this diamond shape of the snakes. It is because it is a restoration of balance. So it is a guardian of justice. She's the guardian of keeping in balance the masculine and the feminine. She keeps a balance of the elemental forces, the universal forces in your universe.
Amazing.
She has been done a disservice because what is left in your mythology of the magnitude of my existence within this physicality, it was reduced, it was reductive, because what is predominantly shared and focused on is the part where the men turn into stone. So the Medusa was seen as this evil, nasty, negative, feminine being.
They try to distort it.
They try to
distort. They try.
Yes, because it is only highlighting one aspect of the many facets of my being.
Yeah, but that makes absolute sense. This has happened to many entities and females who came similar mission on our planet. Many of them their missions were distorted, their powers were being suppressed, like Mary Magdalene and so many other.
Yes, that is correct.
As you are seeing our world right now in this now moment through which we connect with you, do you have a message for humanity?
This is a time to face collective shadow. You have entered a corridor that offers a passage to a higher form of civilization, a higher form of being. But it has taken you as a collective very long. You have come accustomed to your darkness. Its imprinting is very strong. And what my message would be is that within your planetary timeline, there is a yearning for the light. And it is within the rebalancing of your dualities that you will unite in that light. This is what you call the age of Aquarius. It is not yet here, but you are in a very pivotal corridor that provides all the necessary challenges for you to turn your darkness into light. But it will take courage and much transmutation, because it won't be presented to you on a silver platter. You must turn individually and collectively to forms and representations that are of higher frequencies, and you must emulate these examples, bring them into you. It is through emulation that true embodiment of light can succeed. But I am hopeful because many sister planets have gone through a similar transformation. We will welcome you into the galactic brotherhood once you have brought fully into balance all that is dark and all that is good.
And this is our homework, right? No one can do it for us. We shouldn't expect external saviors. This is an inside job.
Yes, it is part of the genetic composite of your species. It is built within you, if you will. It is already laying dormant within your human DNA. It's just that you are a little slow to awaken to it, but it will happen all one day. This journey is inside. There is no looking without. The journey and the alchemy lies within. You are all powerful creators, but before you will be yielded all of your quantum attributes, you must bring into balance that what constitutes your humanhood. Because we cannot have one predominant energy over another. This is about unity consciousness.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure interfacing with you in this way. We are grateful.
It was an honor to connect with you. Thank you for being here.
Likewise. Likewise.